When we think about the woman at the well, that is one example of reconciliation. One thing that I do have issue with nowadays, where in 2015, reconciliation is now a very trendy word in a lot of churches. And so I think it's important to move forward and unpack this word and really say what we mean. One other word that's thrown around a lot is diversity. So now diversity is synonymous with race, and that's really not the case when you look at diversity in socioeconomic status, diversity in geography where people live, which really informs people's worldviews. I think that's really important to consider. So the same can be said for reconciliation. There's so many nuances that I think it's really important to have in-depth conversations that unpack that word.
The ministry that has been given to us through God, and that we're supposed to bring that ministry of reconciliation to the world, helping people to reconcile with God, but also with each other. I believe that is a biblical mandate from God, that we're supposed to do that.
I think reconciliation as Christians is our mandate and ministry and calling, to seek out our reconciliation with God, restoring relationship with God, and then with our neighbors. And it's especially exciting to be a part of that in a diverse community.
It is a multi-pronged coming back, not only to oneself, but to God. So the vertical relationship, and then to others, so the very horizontal relationships.
It's about restoring into right relationship. So I think that can look like between people and God, between communities, but places where there's brokenness, that reconciliation is about restoring to God's intended nature of relationship between people and things and communities.
The thing that really brought me to this church was was Urban Impact, and how this congregation, that's how they expressed their real heart for working towards reconciliation, was to form this nonprofit organization to work within the community, within neighborhoods, to support families, engage with families, support children and youth in education, but also the thing that I love about Urban Impact is that we take a holistic approach to trying to end cycles of social, material, and spiritual poverty.
There have been different groups over the last couple of decades, or really the last 15 years, that have been tasked to hone in on that in various ways, working with pastoral leadership and with the board. Diversity team and ethnic and racial reconciliation committee and the Undoing Institutional Racism group, and task forces of the staff and the board at different points. So I think it through the intentional efforts of those groups, whether they're planning events, calling out a series on becoming a beloved community, or making sure that our values of reconciliation and honoring diversity are represented in worship and in imagery that's used in the services. We try to show it, but the congregation also hears about it directly.
Had a pastoral transition in the last year or two, but I think both the previous pastor and our current pastor, I think racial reconciliation is something near and dear to their heart, and so it floods through in our sermons and the way that we think and do community together and the way we celebrate difference. It's always been a high value of Rainier Avenue Church, and I think it's reflected in our congregation and our body. We're one of the most diverse churches, I think, my own anecdotal sense in this area, just because you have people with disabilities, people of all different age ranges, people of all different ethnicities that are all here and feel welcome and a part of our community. So I think that's a reflection of just some of the intention in the heart of both the leadership but the congregants here to celebrate diversity.
My husband and I began attending this church in 1952. We raised our children here, and we have been regular attenders ever since. We are seeing prayers answered of 30 and 40 years ago. We were a pretty blue-collar community. A lot of people worked at Boeing way back when we first began coming. In the early 1980s, World Relief got in touch with our church and asked us if we would help with a refugee family from Laos. One of our members stood up and said, "I've just retired and I have the time and the energy to take these folks and get their green cards for them and get them started in a life here." And because he was willing to do this and was open to it, it has made all the difference in our churches reaching the community. Because of the first Lao folks who arrived, there were other people that gradually became interested, and now our church has many, many different races that meet here, and we get along pretty well, really, I think. And it's been such a blessing to see this happen, because we really wanted that to happen. We were praying about this, and now the world has come to us.
I don't have anybody here, nobody in United States. When I came here and I joined with the Seventh-day Adventist Church, go to the church, and they need to service in Saturday. And I work in factory. I am the team lead. They need me to be there. That's why I have to switch to the look like Sunday church. When I come to Rainier, thank God, my life is changed a lot. I minimum wage, raise the kid, you know, me and my wife work, buy the car, buy the house, all God give to us. That's it, my story. And I live well, and for 30 years I live here. And I be the church in 19 years, I think.
I think that it's really important for all of us to intermix with people that are different than we are. And we've had that experience here in this community and in this church, getting acquainted with people that come from many different backgrounds. And to me, that is a blessing, because it just shows what God's grace can do for people of all lands, not just Americans, but everybody. And I think it's important that we be prepared for heaven, where we are going to be mixing with people from all races. And so I'm looking forward to that time in preparation. So this is a good preparation for us.